The one thing I've come to realize about these countries, the countries that aren't as popular as, say, European countries or generally the poorer countries, the big plus side, and this works on an individual level too, but it fascinates me, is that the people are generally a lot more resilient. They might not be as wealthy. They might not. It's really a lot of it's just wealth. They lack the wealth. I mean, they lack education. They lack plenty of things. Don't get me wrong, but
Thanks.
yeah. Full disclosure.
Full disclosure, my father was not allowed to go to college in our country because he was Jewish, so he had to go to Russia to go to school. So that's actually a real thing, as much as we're joking.
I do notice a resilient aspect to things, and when people from poorer countries come to America, a lot of them are very, very motivated, and you kind of have this switcheroo where the Americans, several generations in, because all Americans at some point
Are lazy.
no, but hey, bro, what's going on? So they,
Hello.
so they all, they all came in and at some point or another, but a lot of us were a few generations American already. But the ones like you, for instance, your parents came here and they think America is the answer, and people who live here, they don't appreciate that, and that's the craziest thing to me.
I mean, that's 100% a valid point because you notice a lot of the immigrants who come in, they have a different work etiquette and a different structure of their life than, let's say, American kids. The way I was raised, the way my friends who are not born here were raised, even from other
Lego toys.
immigrant backgrounds. First of all, immigrant parents means your parents probably beat you. But that also means you probably did well in school because you were scared to get beaten. So those translated to good grades and scholarship and things like that. So yes, when you were younger, our immigrant lifestyles were a little bit more complicated than the American. Hey, go to your room, and you're like, I have a room. This is wild. Oh, goody! I love being American. And then you have like immigrant parents like, go to your room. Why? You're going to beat the shit out of me there so no one can see me? Like, what's happening?
That's funny, though, because like an immigrant parent says, go to your room, and the kid just goes to his little like cot in the corner of the room. You know what I mean?
Basically.
He's sitting there like fighting over a sleeping space with like his 1-year-old brother in the crib, and they're just going like that. Like they have nowhere to sleep. Yeah, that's hard, man. But yeah, I'm not... I love how off topic we got, but I'm not pro hitting a kid. Like I feel like there's very few instances where that can be called for. But that's just me. I understand that like you have a lot of people who are pro it. They think it works. Blah blah blah. In America now, that's the kind of thing that for the most part doesn't fly. And I think ultimately, I'm not a parent and never have been, so I can't really speak from experience. But I think I don't know. Like you can scare a kid into doing what you want the kid to do. But you run the risk, I think, of possibly creating a violent person. Like if you constantly, meaning like if you really designate very few things to hitting, fine. But I think parents get carried away with the power of it. They know that once they smack a kid hard enough in the face or with a belt or whatever, the kid will listen to whatever they tell them. And it becomes a controlling thing where your kid will do anything you tell them. And I don't know, like I don't need my kid to fear me. I need my kids to respect me. So that's like, if I can get, it's not a matter of getting them to do what I want. It's just that if I really feel something is beneficial to them, I'm going to be very serious about it. And I think ultimately you can, just by action, by following through with what you say, if you say you're going to punish your kid, punish your kid. Don't just, I'm going to give you the count of 5 to do, you better get up in 5 seconds or blah, 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 blah. The kid gets up in 10 seconds, you don't do anything. Kid's not going to respect you. It's a very simple thing. You say, if you sit there, no problem, this and this and this is going to happen, or this and this is not going to happen. You're not going to play PlayStation. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. And then you have to see whether that consequence actually makes a difference. Could be your kid doesn't care to play PlayStation. So it has to be a punishment that actually makes sense. But I don't know, that's just me. Like I wasn't hit as a kid. I mean, very rarely if I like did something really stupid. But it wasn't, I can't even remember, like maybe once. But I was scared shitless of my grandmother. Like she wasn't like the thing was she wasn't a violent person. She wasn't like threatening or whatever. She was very serious when she was she was a very serious disciplinary person. Like when she said something, she followed through. So I knew that when she was upset about something or I did something wrong, she meant business. And that's why I never second guessed her, And like that she's a tiny 4'11" woman.
I
But
met her. I know.
But she's a tough cookie. That one. So to me, I think that's what really makes the difference. You have to say what you mean what you say.
I mean, to be honest with you, in my culture,
As long as you're honest.
okay, not to be honest with you, because
Okay. I could go. I just don't.
where are we
not
going?
sure.
You want a scrapbook? You want a scrap? Let's go. I got the glue. I gotta get better jokes.
You got some corn in the fridge. You might want to just.
I'm a corny guy. It's not my fault.
Not even a dad yet.
Oh God, I hope not.
Okay.
I'm not ready to be a dad. That's the conversation for next podcast. Let's not go into that one.
Okay. Well,
but in my culture, to be
honest.
exactly, everybody, older people, older generations that beat their kids, and mom, dad, uncle, grandmas, grandparents. That's kind of a thing. And looking at
many countries, man.
and I was gonna say, yeah, looking at it, any non-American families that live in America, you're looking at Italians, and you're looking at Irish, and you're looking at Chinese people, you're looking at Indians. They beat the shit out of their kids, man. Let's be fucking honest.
Yeah.
It's just Americans that don't do that, and
It's a Western thing. I would say even in a lot of like Denmark, Sweden, countries like that.
I don't think they do it there.
I'm saying I don't think they do. I'm saying I don't think they beat their kids for the most part.
Probably not.
It's more of a Western, more reformed thing. And yeah, man, honestly, it's hard to say whether it works or it doesn't. I'm more pro communication, less about that. I'm not pro hitting kids, but
So I mean,
it works to some. I don't know. Some people that swear by it. Some people.
I'm actually not for it either. I'm against it, and I think that there's a clear physical and psychological damage that gets done to a child throughout his life, throughout his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And he grows up, and because he was beaten as a child, whether it's not often or often, there's certain emotional barriers. There's self-esteem issues, confidence issues, issues with discipline, self-discipline, or other ways, and that all kind of I've seen kids who got beaten, kids who haven't gotten beaten, myself included. And, you can clearly tell a kid who's been disciplined when he's gotten beaten, because at least that they've gotten some discipline in them. Like, you take a kid who's gotten beaten, and yes, he's emotionally scarred, but at least he has manners, man. Like, you take a person who's out, you meet someone, and
I don't know, man. I wasn't beaten, and I think I have manners.
I'm saying it in a generic and very
It's
broad.
hard. I don't know, man. Like you have a lot of people who have been beaten senseless as kids, and they're not necessarily.
Yes, but if your kids got beat a little bit and they had some discipline with that, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I personally wouldn't want to do that for my kids, and nor would I want my wife to do that, future tense, of course. But I have seen situations where people have done it, and it is what it is. I don't think it's the best thing, but I don't think it's going to completely go away in the next 100 years, because at the end of the day, discipline is still discipline.
There's a lot of cultures and countries who are going to do it for as long as we can think. I mean, there are simply cultures that don't agree with the American way, and they're going to do that regardless. I mean, every culture is different, every country is different. But yeah, I don't know. It's something I don't necessarily agree with. I don't think it's the right way, but either way. How did we get into this conversation?
I think it started with band camp.